Hello, YouTubers. Woo! I'm back. Hello. All right, TikTok is already ready. I was good today. So I should just be able to push the button to start TikTok and we are good. Hang on. Mirror your video. Boom. TikTok is, there we go. Fastest start ever. TikTok is ready. I actually was ready today. I mean, I'm a little late, but I was ready, so to speak. Anyway, hello, guys. Hello, TikTokers. How are we all doing this evening? Hello, all. Happy Wednesday. Hello, there's TikTok. Here we on. I'm tardy. I'm always a little tardy. You know what it is, though? I get rolling. Like, Discord takes me a minute to get started. It's a pain. Not Discord, not the Discord followers' fault. Thank you for the gifts there on TikTok. But I've got to launch Discord, and then I've got to exit Discord, and then relaunch the app, or people can't hear me, and half the time it wants to update. So it's like, it takes a few minutes. Anyway, welcome, guys. Exactly. I'm always fashionably late, about 5 minutes. So, but always there. Anyway, hello all. How are we doing this evening? Welcome, welcome, welcome. Thank you, running as well. Lots of gifts on TikTok. Thank you, guys. So it's Wednesday, May 7th. We have an okay amount of news today. I don't know if it's interesting. It's an interesting assortment of news today, so we'll talk about it. Thank you, Max, Adventures, Kathy, Cricket, Pingu. Actually, and I ought to be thanking the subscribers on YouTube as well. Rhiannon, Frank, Emroy, Alamo, Ann, Flying Medic, BC. Ooh, very nice gift here from Succeed, the glowing jellyfish. Thank you, Succeed. Alamo, Flying Medic, BC. Okay, I think I got you guys. Solak, hey Solak. And Dave, who's a subscriber over on Discord. So thank you guys. Salut André. Ça va? So welcome. Yeah, the jellyfish is kind of cool. There's a jellyfish the GIF. I was gonna say gift, jellyfish gift on TikTok. That's kind of cool. It flies around. It kind of flies around. Anyway, so welcome, guys. As always, I got my notes backwards here. As always, we're going to start with the U.S. news, and then we'll move over to the Ukraine war news, and then we'll hang out and talk about the news. So take your questions, and I'll potentially see some questions as we go along. Happy to kind of grab those too. Yes, black smoke today. They did not, on the first balloting, they did not pick a pope. If anybody who's watched the movie Conclave, although I thought that was kind of a bad movie, it was like an okay movie, and then it ended really stupid. Not going to ruin it for you if you ever see it, but I think it's kind of see, let me know what you think. Actually, even now, let me know what you think if you've seen it, but don't ruin it for people. But I thought the ending was stupid. I was like, come on, but whereas the drama was interesting, at least, but I did not love it as much as I think the movie was sort of billed. But nonetheless, exactly, the ending was lazy. That was I get sort of pulled out of movies when I think they're fake. It just felt fake to me. But again, we aren't going to ruin it for anybody. The movie Conclave, which is about selecting a new pope. Thank you, Michael. In any case, so yeah, they did the first vote on the pope today. They didn't get the 2/3 majority. I was reading about this. They do like 2 votes in the morning, 2 votes in the afternoon, I think, like every day. And if they go something like 3 days without selecting a 2/3 majority pope, then they take a day break, they pray, then they go and vote again. And once they hit 30 votes, which I thought was interesting, no problem, Lupita. Once they hit 30 votes, then it's a runner-up situation. Then the top 2 vote getters run against each other. And I don't know if it's a simple plurality or, simple majority, I guess, or what it is. But then the top 2 run against each other, and that's how they pick the pope. So very interesting. But in any case, so black smoke, they did not pick the pope today. Oh, well. What else we got? Let's get rolling here. So Federal Reserve. Today, the chairman said he's not lowering interest rates. That was expected. As you will recall, interest rates were coming down under President Biden. The plan was for interest rates to come down, I think, 4 times last year. They only came down twice because of Trump. Then this year, they're supposed to come down even further. They're not coming down because of Trump. And I will read the quotes from the chairman of the Federal Reserve right now, who's in charge of all of this. But he basically said Trump's tariffs are causing chaos with the economy. And not just Trump's tariffs. but Trump's erratic approach to the tariffs and economic policy, that he keeps saying this, then saying that, then changing his mind, then it's no tariffs, then it's a lot of tariffs, then it's only 10% tariffs, but for China it's 145% tariffs. That back and forth is confusing businesses, and they don't know how to invest in the American economy because they have no idea what's coming next. Thank you, Big Hawk. Thank you, Pedro. So let me read a little bit here. He kept interest rates steady. Had he lowered interest rates, it would help boost the economy, help the economy grow more, help employment. The problem is, at the same time, it would have caused inflation. And there's already concerns about inflation because of Trump's tariffs. So the Federal Reserve doesn't necessarily want to lower interest rates and cause inflation. Thank you, Tiptoe. Thank you, Big Hawk. Thank you, Varusin. The problem, though, is if they raise interest rates, that will help them with inflation. Because again, we're worrying about inflation now with Trump's tariffs. If they raise interest rates, the Federal Reserve, that will help keep inflation at bay. But guess what happens when you raise interest rates? Unemployment goes up. If you raise interest rates, you kill the economy. And you don't kill it, but you basically potentially send the economy into a recession. So the problem Federal Reserve has with Donald Trump is causing inflation. He's also causing recession with his policies on tariffs, and or potentially causing a recession, but certainly causing the economy to grow more slowly. The problem is the solution to inflation is to raise interest rates. The solution to recession is to lower interest rates. The Federal Reserve is stuck in the middle now because Trump kind of screwed them. That's what he said today. Let me read you more. Federal Reserve Chairman said at a news conference that the economy faced growing risks of higher unemployment and higher inflation due to tariff increases. Speaking after officials agreed to hold interest rates steady, Powell said that if large increases in tariffs are sustained, they could represent a shock to the economy. Thank you for the oyster shell there. Who was that? Joy. Thank you. Quote, if the large increases in tariffs that have been announced are sustained, they're likely to generate a rise in inflation, a slowdown in economic growth, and an increase in unemployment, Powell said today. Expectations of a rate cut at the Fed's next meeting in mid-June declined when Powell said officials felt like the cost of waiting to learn more about the economy were fairly low, meaning they are not in any big hurry to lower interest rates, all because of Donald Trump. Interest rates were supposed to come down more last year. They didn't. They're supposed to come down more this year. They didn't. This has sort of an indirect effect on mortgage rates, on what you pay for credit cards. It's a little more complicated than that, but it's sort of an indirect effect. It's not great. Interest rates come down. It makes it better for businesses. Again, but it causes inflation. And if inflation were under control, which it was starting to get under control under Biden, now it's getting out of control. Recession, actually, Kanepi asked a good question, and a complicated question. He said, what is recession? A recession, the old definition was 2 quarters in a row. They split the year up into 4 quarters, so 3 months at a time. 2 quarters in a row, so 6 months in a row of the economy shrinking. So instead of the economy growing, which it should do every month or every quarter, the economy shrinks for 2 months in a row. Now, shrinking, thank you, Carrie. Thank you, Joy. Thank you, Shawnee. Shrinking often entails things like unemployment going up. It's GDP going down, growth going down, and unemployment going up would be 2 of the main things to look at. As I said, it used to be 2 quarters in a row. Now it's a little more. I don't even know if they've got a strict definition anymore now, or whether they look and they just say, we've had many months in a row of the economy not doing well, and that's a recession. I mean, I don't want to sort of minimize it, but it used to be the simple 2 quarters in a row. But bottom line is, it's the economy not doing well for a couple months in a row, going down basically. Anyway, it might still be the unofficial. It used to be the actual definition was 2 quarters in a row, and then they kind of got rid of it. I remember, I want to say a couple of decades ago, they may have gotten rid of it. Interesting. Adventures with Crystal says in Europe, it's 3 out of 4 quarters. Interesting. All Stars is saying 2 quarters in a row is now referred to as a technical recession. There you go. Because they seem to, and I mean, I'm not an economist. I did study some economics, but I'm not an economist. They seem to be hedging that 2 quarters in a row of growth going down, like they say now, is technically a recession. But my suspicion is the fact that they're saying technically means sometimes the growth can go down for 2 quarters, but it's really not that bad a thing. And they're not really considering it a problem with the economy. That's my very poor explanation of what I think is going on. Anyway, it will, Terry. Well, Terry says, why aren't all the cuts in government employees reflecting on unemployment? They haven't really kicked in yet. Unemployment, the first 3 months, the first quarter of the year was through March. I mean, they killed some jobs, but a lot of it, I think, may not have kicked in as much by then, right? The other thing is, look what they did with a lot of these agencies. They put these employees on leave, right? They tried to fire them. Some of them they couldn't fire. They had to bring back. Other ones they've put on leave, but they haven't quite fired. I'm not convinced how many employees have actually been fired at this point. And they've had a lot of employees who said they're willing to take the offer to leave government, the sort of the buyout. But is that happening yet? I don't know. Yeah, Alan said lots of them are on paid administrative leave. So my suspicion is a lot of that stuff hasn't kicked in yet. If it's going to kick in, I mean, it probably will kick in at some point. Right, and other ones are getting paid through, well, in principle, they're getting paid through September, the ones who have offered to leave. We don't really know what's up with that yet. I mean, Trump and Elon promised that, but that doesn't mean it's real, right? So not quite clear yet. What else we got? Trade talks with China. So the Trump administration says that they're beginning trade talks with China. The Chinese are willing to sit down and talk to them. Stocks were happy to hear that. We still don't know what's going to come of that, whether they're going to agree to anything, but it's good news they're talking. So that's good for the economy overall. Wall Street Journal, India launched strikes in retaliation for, actually, Wall Street Journal did a nice little sort of summary of what's going on with India and Pakistan. India attacked Pakistan yesterday in response to a terrorist attack 2 weeks ago. Let me read you this from the Wall Street Journal. India launched strikes in retaliation for last month's deadly militant attack. I love when they say militants. They don't want to say terrorists. They say militants. I've never quite understood this. Last month's deadly militant attack. I mean, they blew up tourists on purpose. I think that kind of makes you a terrorist if you blow up innocent tourists and kill 24 of them. I don't think you're just militant, right? A lot of us can be militant. This sort of use of, as you guys know, I go a little crazy on people who try to twist words to make their political issues sound better. And now we're making terrorists sound better, which sounds a little weird to me. But last month's militant attack on tourists that New Delhi blamed on Islamabad, meaning the Indians blamed it on the Pakistanis. Thank you, Smurf, for the gift. And thank you, Colleen, as well. Pakistan threatened to hit back. India has long accused Pakistan of fomenting a violent insurgency in Kashmir, a region that is divided between the two nuclear-armed neighbors, but that both claim in its entirety. Islamabad denies supporting terrorism. The countries fought 3 wars, mainly over the disputed territory, blah, blah, blah. So there was no word today, but pretty much we're waiting to see if the Pakistanis are going to hit back. They say they're going to hit back. They say they're going to hit back at some point, but we don't know when and we don't know where. So anyway, yeah, I don't know, Luis. It's a good point from Luis. I'm not sure I agree. Luis says militant is factual. Terrorist is a point of view since they may feel the act was justified. Then there is no terrorism. Then terrorism no longer exists as a word, because anybody who commits an act of terror thinks it's justified. Nobody commits an act of terror and says, I really shouldn't be doing this. This is wrong, right? I mean, you do it because you think it's right. So therefore, terrorism doesn't exist. Now, you could argue the word terrorism doesn't exist at all, maybe, but I would argue your definition means terrorism doesn't exist at all because everyone thinks they're justified. I would also say I am not a big believer in everyone has their own point of view and everyone's point of view is right. Who am I to judge? I judge for a living, so although sometimes we've got to be nuanced. I agree with that too. But I think once you start blowing up tourists, now having said, okay, here's the problem. Once you start blowing up tourists, are you committing an act of terror? Yes. Is it terrorism? Yes. Are you a terrorist? I guess that's where it gets interesting, right? For example, if the Russians, if Ukraine were in danger of losing the entire country and the Ukrainians turned around and said, that's it, we're going after Moscow and we're going to blow up everything and going after civilians to basically make Moscow pay the ultimate price. Would that be terrorism? Yeah. Would it be an act of terror? Yeah. Would it be a terrorist attack? I guess. Would that make the Ukrainians terrorists? No, not in my view. Not in my view. If they were literally desperate for the survival of their country, I don't agree. So you could get into a situation where Are you arguing that in some circumstances it would be legit for the Ukrainians to use acts of terror? Maybe you might make that argument. But does that make them terrorists? I don't know. Does it make the acts of terror acts of terror? Probably. So I'm not disagreeing on sort of the grayness that you can get with some of this stuff. By the way, Ukraine is not doing anything like that, but nonetheless. What else we have here? We've got, so this was kind of a bizarro story today. God, Trump is still going after Greenland. Listen to this. The U.S. is stepping up its intelligence gathering efforts regarding Greenland. I think this was in the New York Times, drawing America's spy apparatus into President Trump's campaign to take over the island, according to two people familiar with the effort. Several high-ranking officials under Director of National Intelligence Tulsi Gabbard issued a collection emphasis message to intelligence agency heads last week. They were directed to learn more about Greenland's independence movement and attitudes on American resource extraction on the island. The classified message asked agencies, whose tools include surveillance, satellites, communications intercepts, and spies on the ground, to identify people in Greenland and Denmark who support U.S. objectives for the island. So now they're actually, this is really amazing. They've not only increased spying on the Greenland because they're still planning on taking it at some point. They're trying to find local sympathizers, which is what you do if you're Russian and you're trying to take over Ukraine. The Russians basically had local sympathizers, for example, create acts of terror that the Russians were behind, but they were doing this in Ukraine. What are we planning on doing? Like recognizing some local people as the real leaders who want to be independent or something? Greenland does not want to be part of America. They're not thrilled about the Danes, from what I heard with the polls, but they certainly do not want to be part of America. He's out of his mind. Hey, Bjorn in Sweden. He's out of his freaking mind. The final thing Trump did today, or is about to do, we found out. Thank you, Marsha. Thank you, Bjorn. Keep the gifts coming, guys. I do this for a living, and your gifts pay the bills, so please keep them coming on all the services. And do follow me. TikTok, click that follow button. YouTube as well. Discord, doesn't matter. There's no way to follow me on Discord. But the rest of you, please do follow. So the other thing Trump is planning on doing, and this was confirmed by multiple news outlets today, he's going to fire the entire office in the federal government that deals with Energy Star ratings. Now, people from abroad may not be familiar with what this is. Energy Star, I'm going to pull this up, is a little sticker that we have had on appliances in the United States. The sticker has been around for, I think, possibly 30 years. The office has been around for at least 30 years. It looks like this, Energy Star, and it's a little sticker that goes on a washer, a dryer, a sewing machine, any kind of a decently large appliance. And it tells you, the UK has it too. It tells you what the electrical usage is of the device. And therefore, you can find out, for example, it'll give you the estimated cost of using the device for a year. And it's nice because you can compare devices. Oh, this one's $50. This one's $200 a year. That's a lot more, right? Trump's getting rid of it now. He's planning on getting rid of the office. He's going to fire everybody there. He's going to stop having them certify products. It's insane. I mean, this is part of, and why? Because he's against the environment. Because, and again, Trump is on a rampage against everyone who has wronged him, everyone who is woke. He thinks it's woke to care about the environment. And even more than that, because this isn't just about the environment. It is, but it's not just about energy conservation. It's about saving money, right? Thank you, Marsha. I have to admit, when I buy these devices and I compare the ratings, and I did on my dryer that I bought, my washer and dryer, I'm not looking at the ratings because I'm interested in saving the environment. I'm telling you the truth. I look at the rating because I'm curious how much money I'm going to have to spend to use this thing. And I like to, I've got an extra refrigerator in my other room for a little refrigerator. I looked at the rating to see how much is that damn thing going to cost me every month. That's what I look at the rating for. This is about how much money I'm spending. This is about how much money that device is going to cost me. And Donald Trump is going to get rid of it, which is going to cost you and me more money because we're no longer going to know how much, which device basically costs more in the long run and which costs less. It is outrageous. And frankly, even on the environmental side, it's outrageous, right? All things being equal, Why is it, thank you, Marsha, why is it wrong to tell Americans that all things being equal, we're also going to tell you how much energy it uses, and if you care to use less energy, you can, even money aside. Why is that wrong? Now keep in mind, Trump is the one, and somebody said in the comments on TikTok too, and I challenged them, Trump is the one that claims, and it's a ridiculous claim, that, toilets in America no longer flush. You've got to flush them 3 and 4 times. There isn't a single toilet in America you've got to flush 3 and 4 times. It's absolutely untrue. Absolutely untrue. I mean, unless you've got like an old shitty toilet. As you have an old shitty toilet, maybe you got that problem. But there is no way that any toilet in America that's a normal toilet, you've got to flush 3 and 4 times. My toilets are relatively new. They were not even relative. My toilets are 20 years old. They flush fine. The one at my mom's house, they flush fine. There's actually one old one at mom's that doesn't flush fine. But sometimes you have to hit it twice. It's been that way for 50 years, 60 years, right? That's not a surprise. But he makes up this lie. Showers, he's mentioned showers. Showers do put out less water. And you know what? You simply unscrew it and you take the thing out. It's really not rocket science. I mean, it's really easy with showers to just take the little thing out and your shower works fine. But with toilets, the toilets have more than enough water. The toilets are fine. But this is the kind of BS from him. And this is why he's going after this. He is, unfortunately, he's trying to destroy lots of things in our country. And it's not clear why. But again, look who we're dealing with. We knew who this guy was when we elected him. We didn't elect him, but some people did. We knew who he was. We knew that he was a bad human being. We knew that he had questionable morals, not even question. I'm being generous saying questionable. We knew he had bad morals. We knew he had bad ethics. We knew he was convicted of 34 felonies. We knew he had committed many more felonies in terms of stealing classified information. We knew that he tried to violently overthrow the government, right? We know he doesn't like blacks. He doesn't like Latinos. He doesn't like Jews. He doesn't like women. I mean, we know who this guy is. So he is on a rampage to destroy anything in America that he thinks is liberal or left. And he thinks caring about the environment is liberal. So he's destroying it. He thinks medicine is liberal. He thinks science is liberal. I mean, it's pretty screwed up. It's very, very, very screwed up. We can talk about this for a second if folks want, and then we'll switch over to the Ukraine stuff. Anybody else? Manana. Where are you, Manana? I don't remember. Manana goes, American toilets have an insane amount of water. Where are you? I'm just trying to remember where. Oh, Latvia. Okay. Oh, but okay. U.S. citizen in Latvia. Okay. Interesting. What else here? All right. Dual flush toilets. I have seen them in the U.S. We don't understand how they work. Meaning there's one button and a second button. And I think one is for number one is for number two, I think. And maybe you can push both to get a lot of water. Honestly, I've never understood those toilets, but they exist here. Yes. It's pretty screwed up, guys. No, I mean, this is unfortunately, they are doing everything they can to harm our country. And it's pretty bad, Ukraine, let's go on with Ukraine here then. And again, we can sort of talk about the rest of this at the end. It is day 1168, I think. I may not have updated the date of Vladimir Putin's special 3-day military operation in Ukraine. This was a very interesting point. One of Trump's special envoys, General Kellogg, who's the normal guy, he's one of the ones who's relatively pro-Ukraine. He let it be known in a Fox News interview, that Ukraine suggested creating a demilitarized zone jointly controlled by Ukraine and Russia along basically the border between where they're fighting. Kellogg described the proposal as a buffer zone with both sides pulling back 15 kilometers, which would be about 10 miles, creating a 30-kilometer or 20-mile area monitored by observers from third countries. He said the arrangement could accompany a ceasefire in place, meaning both sides would maintain control of the territory they currently occupy. The proposal contrasts, basically, they say the proposal is in contrast to what Putin wants. Putin wants not just the ceasefire where it is, he wants them to ceasefire, and then Ukraine gives up a ton of more land. I kid you not. Putin's proposal and that was very cool. The penguin there. Thank you, Helene. Putin's proposal is that they stop fighting and Ukraine give up even more land that the Ukrainians currently have, their own land. They have to give it up to Russia, land the Russians haven't even taken yet. So Russia will not like this. But I thought it was interesting. What is also interesting from Kellogg, he says, I think we're close to a deal. The one man who can deliver it, I believe, is Donald Trump, as long as Putin agrees. And that's probably our impediment to progress. The president of Russia right now not agreeing to it. Interesting that one of Trump's top guys negotiating this admits that Putin is the main impediment to progress, not the Ukrainians. Now, we all knew that before, but for Trump's guy to say it is very interesting, right? Yep, where's my little guy? Where's my little guy here? There he is. Bye-bye. Bye-bye. Okay, do we not have any mods on TikTok? There you go. I was going to say, where were you guys? There you are, Ash. Although that's a pretty bad troll. We had a troll who was simply writing the word no. It was like, okay. I don't think that's exactly the best kind of troll. That's not exactly the trolliest kind of troll you could be. No. Okay. Yes, the U.S. did sign a mineral rights deal with Ukraine as well. Correct. What else we got here? Hang on. More news. President Biden. So President Biden did an interview with the BBC that was quite, thank you, Dawn, for the gift, by the way, or gifts. Biden did an interview with the BBC that was quite strong, taking on Trump, which is great. I mean, well, I'll read it to you first, and then let's get into it. Biden described U.S. pressure on Ukraine to give up territory. Oh, wait. Make sure I'm not jumping ahead here. 1 second here. Yes, Biden described U.S. pressure on Ukraine to give up territory to Russia as modern-day appeasement in a BBC interview published today. It would only embolden Putin, he said. Anybody that thinks Putin is going to stop if some territory is conceded as part of a peace deal is just foolish, Biden said. I just don't understand how people think that if we allow a dictator, Putin, a thug, to decide he's going to take significant portions of land that aren't his, and that's going to satisfy him. I don't quite understand. Okay, let's say something here first. Biden can really kind of go F himself on this. Biden's plan all along was for Ukraine to give up land. It was. I mean, Biden, his national security advisor was a joke, Jake Sullivan. All along, they wanted Ukraine. They wanted Ukraine to maybe get back some land, but not all of it, certainly not Crimea. And Biden would have been fine with a ceasefire that left things where it was. For him to now claim that, oh, we could never accept a deal that let Putin control any bit of Ukraine. What are you talking about? Biden didn't even give Ukraine the weapons it needed so that it could get its land back. And now Biden is trying to claim, we absolutely have got to, we've got to keep fighting until Ukraine gets all of its land back. What are you talking about? Biden, the French and the Germans are the reason Ukraine's like never going to get its land back at this point, at least at this point. Not until Russia falls into a million pieces. How do I know this? Because I'm educated, James. I mean, it's absolutely ridiculous. Absolutely. But I'm serious. For Biden now to be like, no, we can never agree to anything that lets Russia get any land. That was your freaking plan all along. Unfreaking believable. Unbelievable. No, anybody who's new here may not be aware of this. So the problem with Biden is Biden better than Trump? Oh, yeah. Is Biden better than Trump on Ukraine? Oh, yeah. Of course, right? We're comparing to Trump. Simply saying Biden's better than Trump doesn't actually tell us anything about how good Biden did a job. So let's put aside for a moment the fact that, yes, Biden is better than Trump. Okay? I mean, like, my little goat is better than Trump, but that's fine. Biden from the beginning was afraid to give Ukraine all the weapons it needed. Ukraine needed planes. Ukraine needed tanks. Ukraine needed Patriot missiles. None of them did they get from this administration, in large part because the French and the Germans were chicken of supporting Ukraine because they didn't want to anger Putin. And Biden was chicken of angering Putin as well. So they went very slowly. Patriot missiles, people, the Patriot missiles are for shooting down missiles that are coming into Ukraine to kill civilians. They're not even missiles that are going to be used to shoot down Russian planes in general. They're literally missiles Ukraine wanted to protect its cities from incoming Russian rockets that were aimed at civilians. And Biden said no. It took him 9 months to agree to give them the damn missiles. And then he gave them like 1 battery. And then he gave them 2. He never gave them more than, I don't know if they had 4 in the end. He never gave them enough of them to start with. Then they wanted planes. Oh, they were never going to get planes. They wanted tanks. Oh, no, we can't give them tanks. And then over a year into it, suddenly the Germans, of all people, the Germans finally started getting better. The Germans said, okay, we'll give tanks, but we'll only do it if Biden will do it. And Biden went, And then finally Biden felt the pressure because the Germans, God bless the Germans on this one. The Germans pressured Biden to provide tanks to Ukraine, and Biden finally caved. But then, well, it's going to take a long time to train them on how to use those tanks. And it's going to take us a long time to reconfigure those tanks, maybe 6 months, maybe 9 months. La, 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 la. It took forever to get the damn tanks. And what did the tank delay do, by the way? Because we didn't get them tanks at the very beginning. And we waited 1.5 years to get them tanks. What did it do? It gave the Russians time to dig in the territory the Russians had stolen so that there was no way to kick the Russians out. Had we given them the tanks early on, which they begged us for, and which we said, oh, no, we could never do that, except then 1.5 years later we did. Had we given them the damn tanks, they could have dislodged the Russians from their territory. Currently, Russia controls almost 20% of Ukraine territory because we dragged our damn feet on getting the weapons needed. And then once we gave them the tanks, we still weren't going to give them planes. Oh, we can't give you planes. That would just be horrible. What would Putin do if we gave you planes? Oh, even though now we do give them planes. And what did Putin do? Absolutely nothing. We gave them tanks. What did Putin do? Absolutely nothing. We gave them Patriot missiles. What did Putin do? Absolutely nothing. Every step of the way, oh my God, what will Putin do? Putin did nothing every step of the way when we finally gave Ukraine what it needed. But we didn't give them the planes. And what did that do? Well, finally, the counteroffensive. Okay, let's talk about the counteroffensive. The counteroffensive was Ukraine's big push back last year, remember? The big push back against Russia. But we didn't give them the tanks they needed in time. So by not giving them the tanks, the Ukrainians couldn't start the counteroffensive. They had to delay it by like 3 to 6 months. And what did that do? It gave the Russians time to dig in, and boy, did they dig in. The Russians dug trenches with machinery, with everything possible in these trenches so that the Ukrainians couldn't pass. Okay? That was the first problem. So by not giving the tanks on time, we gave the Russians time to dig in so that Ukraine could not dislodge them. 2, we finally got them the tanks, but then we didn't give them the air power they needed, the aircraft. You can't use tanks without aircraft. And I mean, I'm not a military expert, so to speak. I'm a foreign policy expert. But all the military experts out there will tell you they needed air power if they were going to get their land back. They couldn't just use things on the ground. They had to control the air as well, and they needed our planes, and we didn't give them our planes. So what happened? Ukraine starts this counteroffensive 6 months late because we didn't give them tanks on time. They start losing the counteroffensive because we didn't give them planes on time. And then the counteroffensive is totally useless and accomplishes nothing. And every step of the way, I could go through 10 weapon systems that Ukraine needed. Every freaking step of the way, we said, oh no, Putin would get very upset. They'd get very upset. And then we waited 1 year or 2 and then finally gave them the weapon system. And then, of course, what happens? Republicans take over Congress and then say, well, we're not going to give any more weapons to Ukraine. And then the weapons dry up completely when Biden's still president. As if Biden didn't know there was a decent chance of Republicans taking over the House of Representatives. He knew. He didn't care. No, I have worked in this town for 40 years. I know how politics works. Biden knows how politics works. He's worked in this town longer than I have. He's been here since the 1970s when I was still a kid. Okay? He knew exactly what he was doing. Biden sold out Ukraine. France sold out Ukraine. Germany sold out Ukraine. Were they better than Trump? Yes. But I used to give this example when we talked about the war in Ukraine. It is like you having cancer and you go to a doctor and the doctor says, yes, you have cancer. It's bad, but I can cure you. But you know what? I'm going to give you half the cure because your neighbor might get upset, but let's do half the cure right now. And you're going, wait a minute, half the cure? You mean you're going to leave half the cancer in my body? Yes. And the cancer is going to spread? Yes. But I'm going to cure half your, and that half a cure is very expensive. You should be thankful I'm giving you half a cure because it's very, very, very expensive. And you're going, okay, I've got cancer, right? you're helping me, but you're not really helping me. The help you're giving me is very expensive, but it's also guaranteeing I'm going to die because you're not going to cure me and the cancer is going to spread and kill me. But I should be thankful that you spent a lot of money, basically wasted money. And I'm sorry, we wasted money on Ukraine to a large degree in many ways. We spent all this money, but we never intended to win. What's the freaking point? So yes, I have not had to give this rant for a long time, but this is the rant. This is the explanation in response to, oh, but Biden did help. Yeah. In comparison to Donald Trump, Biden helped, but it was a disaster what Biden did. And I mean, and I am a foreign policy expert. It was absolutely ridiculous what Biden did here. Biden had no intention of winning. He was afraid of Putin every step of the way. So for him to now call Putin a dictator, oh, give me a break. I think he called Putin a dictator once and then he backed off of it. My God. I mean, unbelievable, these people with Biden's people. Oh, anyway. Little more from this. Biden's talking about Zelensky's meeting in the Oval Office with Trump. I found it beneath America, the way that took place and the way we talk about now that it's the Gulf of America. Maybe we're going to have to take back Panama. Maybe we need to acquire Greenland. Maybe Canada should become a 51st state. What the hell's going on here? What president ever talks like that? That's not who we are. We're about freedom, democracy, opportunity, not about confiscation. Final point here. There's a few more stories. Big part of the reason we've got President Trump is because Joe Biden broke his promise to step down. Joe Biden said he was going to run for one term and that was it. Joe Biden, 2 years into his term, should have announced he wasn't running for re-election. In America, unfortunately, presidential races go for 2 years. We literally, our presidential campaign is 2 years in this country. It's insane. It's sad because it's in Europe, you guys do like 3 months or less, right? Biden, at the 2-year mark, said, oh, I'm still running. And he went up until 3 months before the election. More or less, it was 3 months, right? Before Biden dropped out. Well, then we got Kamala Harris. She, I like her. In retrospect, she wasn't exactly the best candidate, I think. America does not like her. Had we had a real primary, maybe we could have gotten somebody better. Maybe we wouldn't have gotten somebody better. I don't know. But the American people might have been able to at least disconnect from Joe Biden. They might have said, yeah, we didn't like Biden too much, but these next people are pretty good. But so Biden also, we don't know. Had Biden earlier said, I'm not running again. Had Biden at the 2-year mark said, I'm not going to run for president again. We don't know if a Democrat could have won. But we do know that he lost, right? We do know that he freaking lost. No, Biden was the right man for the moment in 2020. I voted for him and I supported him over the other candidates, but he ended up being a very weak man who caused a lot of damage to this country. And thanks to Joe Biden, we got Donald Trump again. So, I got news for you, right? Man. Oh boy. And anybody who doesn't like to hear that, you're watching the wrong show here because I got news for you. There aren't a lot of people on TikTok or YouTube or Discord who are going to tell you the truth about politics. I will tell you the truth about Donald Trump, and I'll tell you the truth about Joe Biden. And Donald Trump is here compared to Joe Biden, but I'm not going to lie about Joe Biden because Joe Biden screwed up a lot of things. So I am never going to lie to you about politics. You're not going to like everything I say, but at least I'm not going to give you bullshit. Whereas I think everybody else on the right and the left, not everybody, even a lot of people on the left are going to give you bullshit. They kind of feel like, oh, we've got to defend all Democrats. I don't think we have to defend all Democrats because I don't think people like Joe Biden do the right thing if you refuse to criticize them. And that's the problem. Democrats need to be criticized when they do the wrong thing so that they can learn and then do the right thing. Because otherwise we're going to lose. Well, we did lose actually. So a couple more stories. Russian air. Oh, this was good. Ukraine for the third night in a row attacked Moscow with drones. That was good. They're preparing for Friday's big festival where Putin lies to the world and pretends like he saved the world from the Germans in World War II when he really didn't. And he was really their ally and he really helped start World War II. And then after World War II, the Russians literally took half of Europe hostage and installed evil communist dictatorships and literally slaughtered lots of people in Europe. under these communist dictatorships. That was the legacy of World War II with Russia, but the Russians like to lie about that and pretend like, oh, they saved the world in World War II. So every May 9th, Russia puts on a big propaganda show and says, look what we did 80 years ago, because they don't have a lot else to brag about at this point. I mean, it really is. Anybody who has to do a big their biggest propaganda show of the year in Russia is saying, look what we did in 1945. And you're like, okay, or 44. Like, that was nice. I mean, again, you actually started that war and you took Europe hostage for 50 years afterwards. But okay, let's pretend like you were good people. Have you done anything since 1945 that's laudable? You know what I mean? Like, it was 80 years ago. Give me more. It reminds me like when politicians say, we were on the right side of the Civil War or the slavery. And you're like, okay, you were on the right side 150, 100, actually now that would be 170 years ago. That's good. Have you been on the right side of race issues since 170 years? Because you'll hear from a lot of politicians that are really bad on racial issues, and they'll literally say that, well, our party was against slavery. And I'm like, that's great. 170 years ago, you were against slavery. I think that's wonderful. Have you done anything since in the last 170 years for Black people? Or do you have to go back 170 years to find the good thing you did for Black people? Maybe there's a problem if you have to go back, or in Russia's case, maybe there's a problem if you've got to go back 80 years to find something good you did for the world, because I have a hard time finding anything since then. And even then, like we said, then Russia took half of Europe hostage and installed communist dictatorships in like a dozen countries. And they were horrific dictatorships, killing their own people. Brutal. I mean, I visited the Soviet Union. Horrific place. You know, East Germany as well I was in. East Germany is also very scary, less horrific in some ways, but I was on a work trip, so I didn't get to see as much. I mean, I shouldn't say East Germany was not less horrific, though, than the Soviet Union. It didn't seem it on its face, but East Germany was one of the worst dictatorships of all, a true police state. The other countries weren't much better, to be honest. In any case, so the Ukrainians attacked Moscow again for the third night in a row, which is great. It looks like they're planning on going after Moscow's big celebration on Friday. They're having a number of leaders from around the world, but most of them are B-list leaders. The big ones aren't going. Now, even Fico's not going. The Slovak one, the sellout kind of wannabe dictator in Slovakia, who's a huge fan of Putin, he now isn't going. He's like sick or something, and he might be really sick. But he's now not going to go, which is pretty freaking funny. Right, the Chinese are going. Brazil's going. Who else did we say? China, Brazil, the Palestinians, which is kind of funny because I guess we know what side they're on when it comes to genocide. I'm trying to think who else. There was maybe one or two other countries that were interesting that were attending. North Korea is not interesting. I mean, we know they're going, right? The idiots are going. Insignificant countries are going. But it was, Azerbaijan is now not going. That's fascinating because Azerbaijan, right? Big former Soviet state. They're not going, which is fascinating. So I thought that was very interesting. Yep, exactly. Yeah, Egypt's going. Egypt, I think, was the other interesting one. Yeah, exactly. Egypt. Egypt was going. That was sort of interesting too. What else we got here? Oh, this was funny. This gets in my category of Russia is a dictatorship watch. Mobile internet restrictions will be enforced in Moscow and several Russian regions while foreign officials visit the country, according to Putin's spokesman. Peskov claimed the measures, which may last through May 10th, are necessary due to dangerous neighbors. These are not disruptions, but restrictions for obvious reasons. We want the glorious Victory Day to be celebrated at the appropriate level. So they're cutting back on the internet because they're afraid, I guess, we know they're afraid of the truth in Russia, but. And finally, German Chancellor Merz, who's the new guy, Fred, as I call him, is going to be visiting Ukraine at some point soon, which is great. He's very pro-Ukrainian, which is great news. We know that. And that's it. Actually, that did take a while. I wasn't quite sure if we had a lot of news today, but that took 50 minutes. So there you go. And we will be watching Eurovision in 2 weeks or a week and a half. So we'll have our Eurovision party as usual on that Saturday. So, anyway, Chris, I'm not sure what you're talking about. Switch from the dollar. What about the dollar? I'm not sure how Ukraine is using the dollar, though. Anyway. So Sasha is enjoying the weather. Yes, because she gets a little hot. So it actually is, it's actually good for her. to have it be, I am from the United States and I live in the United States as well, but I'm an American. Greek American, but American nonetheless. Thank you, Be Heard, for the gift. Keep the gifts coming, guys. What else? So open up for questions now. We can talk about anything. I mean, I prefer to talk about politics, but anything you guys want to talk about my crazy, messed up country or the world or whatever. Thanks, Be Heard. Carol, thank you for the gift as well. Do follow me, TikTokers. Always forget to ask you that. You look Eurovision. Oh, we're going to be watching it. Yeah, every year we've been trying to. Last year I couldn't because I was traveling. But Eurovision Day, the day of the finals, it's a big European song contest. It's a lot of fun. And the day of the finals, I hold a live and we just hang out and watch it. It's fun. And we just watch it together. We watch the show, criticize the singers. But now that's a, Be Heard asked a good question. If not Biden in 2024, who could have won? Thank you, Lori. I don't know. What I mean is the American voters are pretty screwed up. They voted for Trump again. And we're now finding, I mean, it looks like they didn't vote for Trump because, we hate him, but the alternative is so bad. No, they voted for Trump because they kind of liked him. Right. And honestly, Kamala Harris wasn't bad at all. She wasn't bad, but people like Trump. They hated him 4 years ago and this time they loved him. They voted for Trump because they liked him. I don't know who could have won. Clearly Kamala Harris, I think being a woman didn't help her. Being black doesn't help, but Obama won being black twice. So who knows, right? I mean, who knows on that front? Being a woman, I think America clearly isn't ready for a woman yet. It's terrible, but I think it absolutely was sexism, right? I mean, Pete Buttigieg, the thing is, who knows? Buttigieg is very interesting. I like Pete Buttigieg. Buttigieg is the former mayor of a small town, more or less, in Indiana. He's gay, which is going to be an issue for voters. Having said that, he is incredibly well-spoken, possibly better than anyone in the Democratic Party today. He's better spoken than any of them. He is brilliant. He speaks well. He messages well. He's able to connect to voters with his message. He goes on Fox News all the time and he does an amazing job when he goes on Fox. And generally people, even Republicans, see him and they go, he's good. But Buttigieg is gay. Will that, and has a husband, right? Is America ready for that? I don't know, right? I don't know. I mean, I really don't. But he clearly wins people over. And if any gay man was going to win people over, it would be Pete Buttigieg. I will say that, right? If there was a chance of any gay person becoming president, he's the one. But can he be the one? I don't know. I don't know what we've got. I mean, Gavin Newsom, he speaks very well. He's from San Francisco. I'm sorry. We're going to elect the former mayor of San Francisco? Seriously? Like in America, that just literally makes you like an uber lefty. I think that's not going to go over well. Maybe, but he speaks very well. I mean, Gavin Newsom's another very smart, right? The other guys, I don't know. They talked about what's his face, the governor of Pennsylvania. Help me out, guys, on the names here. Governor of Pennsylvania, governor of Kentucky. People like them a lot. I don't know. Andy Beshear in Kentucky. Thank you, Gunther. Josh Shapiro. Thank you. Josh Shapiro is Pennsylvania. Both of them are names people like a lot. Kamala Harris, I think, is done. She had her chance. Elizabeth Warren, she's too old at this point, I think. I mean, I don't think she's physically too old. I think in the grand scheme of things, we can't have somebody who's in their 70s. She might be 78. She's 80 now, actually. Alexa, how old is Elizabeth Warren? She might be 80. Alexa, how old is Elizabeth Warren? Oh, she's 75. That's a little better. But in 3 years, she'll be 78. You know what, though? Having said that, and this is where I think Republicans are better at messaging than Democrats. Oh, Biden's so old. Biden's so old. Why is everybody so old? We're tired of everybody being so old. So what do? They voted for the old guy. They voted for Trump, right? I mean, everyone talked about how old Biden was and how old all the candidates are and how old all the presidents are and how old everybody in Washington is. They want somebody younger, and they got somebody younger and they voted for the old guy instead, Trump. So who knows? Maybe Elizabeth Warren's age isn't an issue. I think she's too liberal. to be honest. And she's not necessarily, I mean, I like a lot of her policies, but meaning she's too liberal for America, for the electorate, and she's really not good about defending herself. She did a really, really horrible job running for president, and she can't defend herself well. And if you can't defend yourself well, you're not going to be president. You know, I don't know who else. I mean, Amy Klobuchar wants to be there. I don't know. People say she's really mean, but I don't know whether that's a bad thing. I mean, to some degree, a president who's kind of mean might be a good thing. Cory Booker, I don't know enough about him. I mean, I know who he is, of course, but I really don't know enough about Booker's policies, what kind of a candidate Booker is. I don't know. AOC is never going to be president. No, not until America turns into a socialist country. I mean, she's a socialist. America's never electing her president. She speaks very well, but she would have to literally become a mainstream Democrat to become president. It's never going to happen. Gretchen Whitmer, maybe. Yeah, Whitmer's interesting. Either current governor or former governor of Minnesota, maybe. Help me out. She's very good. Who knows? Well, again, women, will they elect a woman? I don't know. The Kamala Harris thing, I don't quite get, because she's a former prosecutor, which America likes. I thought she came across quite strong, quite smart, quite reasonable, and people hated her. I don't get it. I truly wonder if her being a woman was the problem, because they're not saying what the problem was, right? I just don't know. What else? But I don't know. Well, the racism, the only reason I don't mention the racism is I think the racism matters, but we elected Obama twice. I mean, I didn't think Obama was good. I wanted Obama to win. I did not think America was going to elect Obama. And the second time, I still didn't think they were going to elect him, because I was like, they're not going to vote for a black guy again. They voted for a black guy twice. That was shocking to me. So who knows? I mean, or is it black woman versus black man? Right? Maybe there's a difference there in terms of voters. I don't know. Thank you, Super Hornet. Thank you, Erwin, for the gifts. Keep the gifts coming, guys. Yeah, but people say that Random Rod said Obama was considered biracial. No, he wasn't. I just sort of jump on people when they make that comment, because I got news for you. Barack Obama was a black man. Barack Obama was not a white man. And anybody who says, oh, he wasn't really black, I got news for you. Every single American that looked at Barack Obama said that's a black man. Nobody looked at Barack Obama and said, what a nice white man. Right? It's not like, because he was biracial by blood, but it wasn't like half the country looked at Obama and said he's black and half the country looked at Obama and said he's white. Everybody looked at Obama and said that's an African American. He was running for president as an African American. It's absolutely true. Absolutely true. Yeah, but he spoke like a white man. I mean, I'm not sure what that means to some degree. Cory Booker speaks like a white man. Kamala Harris, she has a little bit of an accent, I'd say, a little bit, but I was just going to, actually, Terry makes a good point. I mean, I don't want to get into it, but Kamala Harris looks more white than Obama. I think that's true. I think Kamala Harris absolutely looked more, you'd be like, what is she? Right? Than Obama. Obama, forget it. Obama's a black man. And he won president twice, which was great. So I don't know. I do wonder whether, again, her being an African-American woman or half African-American woman made the difference. Well, we do care, Dan Schwab, because we're talking about what it is the voters like and don't like in electing somebody, and whether they care about electing a woman or not. I would love it if the voters didn't care if you're black or a woman or gay or Protestant or Catholic or whatever, or Jewish for that matter, but they do. So we're talking about it. But you're right, they shouldn't care, but they do. So, well, that was my point, Lisa. Lisa said he's a black man and not a woman. That's what I'm wondering is, she's a black woman. Is that like, she's a woman? Did voters not like that? But also, are they still discriminating against black women versus black men? Also, black men themselves voting. Do black men themselves have a bigger issue with a black woman becoming president than a black man becoming president? Maybe, during the Hillary stuff, I remember meeting people in New York City who, like, a couple different people, like my hair cutter too, who was like an immigrant from former Soviet Union, who who said to me, we were talking about the election, 2016, and he goes, "Oh, a woman can't be president." I was like, "What are you talking about?" He goes, "Oh, they're not, they don't have, what it takes." And I'm like, "What are you talking about? Of course a woman has what it takes." So look at Hillary Clinton. You don't think Hillary Clinton would be tough as nails? If anything, the complaint about Hillary Clinton is she's too tough, right? Hillary's problem wasn't she's just so nice, right? Not her problem. It wasn't a problem at all. But the perception of Hillary wasn't she's so soft and nice. No, it was she's boom, boom, boom. Because that's what they do. They demonize women in our country, at least in elections. They demonize women as either being too soft or too hard. So that if a woman's hard, they say, "Oh, she's so hard." Right? If a woman's soft, they say, "Look how soft she is." And it's a catch-22 because you're stuck. You can't be tough and you can't be soft. Right? Right. Too emotional would be the soft side. Yep. But my hair cutter was literally like, "Oh, and the best part is he's talking to me like I agree, like, women aren't qualified to be president." I'm like, "What are you talking about? They don't have what it takes." I'm like, "Of course they have what it takes. They've got the intelligence." He was kind of saying the commander. He goes commander in chief. I'm like, Hillary Clinton? Are you kidding me? But again, this is in New York City that I was hearing this from some people about Hillary because they had a problem with women. So I think you've got a lot of men probably still today who think women can't do the job. I don't know. It's hard. It's so hard to know though. I wish we could get a better readout of the election as far as now the problem with the election, every election, I guess, is complicated. Biden so screwed things up that people hated Biden so much that it's hard to know what role that as somebody said earlier, could any Democrat win at that point because Biden had screwed things up so badly. I mean, where am I getting this from? 40 years experience, a lot of intelligence, a lot of reading. Where do you get your opinions from? What kind of question is that? Exactly. I'm educated and I read and I have 40 years experience in politics in Washington. That's where I'm getting it from. Anyway, 50% extra free. Exactly. You get my back there. Exactly, Andy. And the mirror is kind of a fun little addition, but it depends. It just depends which way the camera's going. I was trying to not show the side more, but there you go. Anyway, Sasha wants more water. Yeah, is it time? All right, time to give Sasha more. She drank water right at the beginning of the show, so I got to get her more. One quick second here. One quick second. There you go. More. There you go. All right. Oh, la, 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 la. Ugh. Oh, man. FIFA. What is your thing with FIFA, Stephanie? They're not coming for a while. Oh, actually, there is a good FIFA story. So I guess I don't know if it's the World Cup or what, but there's some big soccer tournament coming to the U.S. like next year, whatever it is. Is it the World Cup? Some big soccer thing. And God, I meant to do a video on this. I forgot. JD Vance is talking about it with Trump. And it's the World Cup. It is the World Cup. Okay. It's the big international soccer tournament. And JD Vance is on camera. Our vice president is on camera. And he goes, "Everyone's welcome. I want everyone to know from around the world, you're totally welcome." America's, he's trying to fight back against the fact that foreigners don't want to come to America because they're afraid we're going to arrest you or worse, which is a very valid concern. Or at the border, we're going to go through your phone and do God knows what to you, which is also a very valid concern. So JD Vance goes, "You need to know you're fine. We want you all to come. Please come to America. You're all welcome. There won't be any problem." And he goes, "But if you stay afterwards, we're going to have her come after you." And he points to the Homeland Security Secretary, meaning we're going to do to you exactly what we did to the guys we sent to El Salvador. And you're looking at him going, you just threatened every soccer fan in the world about coming to the United States? Are you insane? That was the way you tried to convince them to come to the US, that it was safe. You said, "Please come. It's really safe. Don't listen to people. But if you stay, we're going to send you to El Salvador to some terror prison." It was like, oh my God. So he basically reiterated every single thing that people were afraid of coming here for. Nobody should come to this country while Trump is president. If you're a foreigner, I would not come to this country. I am talking to Americans who are afraid of leaving the country and coming back. I am talking to Americans, natural born Americans, people born in this country who are afraid of having their phones searched at the border because they're doing that now to people. I mean, this is crazy. This is absolutely crazy stuff. If you're not an American, I would even better. If you're not a natural born American, I would be very careful leaving this country. I have friends who were not natural, who are immigrants, who are naturalized American citizens. They're afraid of leaving the country because they're afraid they won't be let back in. And they're Americans. I mean, this is insane what's going on. I cannot imagine you being a foreigner and coming to this country right now. In a million years, I wouldn't do it if I were you. Not in a million. First of all, on principle, you shouldn't do it. But also, I would not feel safe if I were you. Once you get here, if you make it past the border, you're probably safe. I mean, you're not safe on the streets. We're a dangerous country. But you're probably safe if you make it across the border. I have no idea what's going to happen to you at the border. Especially if you're involved in politics at all, like online and you're right about politics, good luck. So yeah, but I love that from JD Vance. No, it's not a problem. Come. But if you stay, we're going to throw you in El Salvador in prison. It's like, okay, no problem. No problem. Oh, that's interesting. Mikey's saying Duke has recommended their international students not go home for the summer. I would agree. I would absolutely, first of all, if you're an international student, be very careful anyway. But yeah, you know, so what's the upside living here? You can make a lot of money. If you can afford the healthcare, it can be very good if you can afford it. I'm having kind of a hard time. The stock market does very well. If you can invest in American stocks, it's a good thing because you can't quite do that as easily abroad. But beyond that, I can't say we're the land of the free anymore. I would have said that before Trump. Freedom not anymore. We're not anymore. So yeah, there you go. So there you go. You want to go learn English? Go to the UK. So we are very welcoming and individual people. That is true. If you make it past the border where they're going to search your cell phone and read all your text messages and go through your internet history. If you're okay with them going through everything on your phone and your iPad and your computer, once you get inside, we'll be pretty welcoming. Yes, that is true. But anyway, Mike says, just heard in the news today that student exchange programs are suffering because international students won't come and American families are scared to get in trouble for having foreign students. I'd be surprised if American families were afraid of having foreign students. No one's afraid of that. But if I were a foreign student, like I said, do you want to spend all that money to go to an American university and be kicked out by Trump? Look at the guy. Look at the Mormon guy in Utah who's from Japan. And Trump kicked him out. He had 4 years of five-year PhD. He was in his fourth year, and Trump kicked him out because 5 years ago, his church group, his Mormon church group he was leading, went fishing, and they caught too many fish. So they were going to kick him out, and the Mormons intervened and finally got Trump to back off. So the guy's staying now. He is staying now, but he wasn't staying until the Mormons clearly intervened and changed it. Right? I mean, imagine you've spent 4 years getting your PhD and we kicked you out. You really want to do that with your graduate education? Really? You want to come to either your undergraduate or your graduate? You want to do that here and spend 2 years and then not get a degree? And then you're back to Europe, and what happens? You think a European university is going to accept 2 years of your school? Really? Right? Or his PhD? You think any other school is going to say, well, you did 4 years already. You're okay. I know. I mean, it's really bad. Anyway, very upsetting. Chris Pappas, what is that? Or Pappas? What is AUKUS? I look at that and I think Australia or something, or the Australia, New Zealand. I was thinking ANZUS. What is AUKUS? I called you Papas for a second there. There was a funny video of that, by the way. I saw it because, I'm Greek, so I like get TikToks and Instagrams and stuff that come through, which makes me laugh. But there was a video of like Greeks or Greek Americans or whatever, when Greek occasionally slips out. And I literally just did it with him. I said, Chris Papas. And I went, Papas? So Australia, UK, what? Who's buying subs from the US though? Oh, Australia. Those are the ones that you screwed, or we screwed the French on. You were going to buy them from the French, and then we got you to switch to the Americans instead, right? Yeah. Yep. I mean, that's not the problem. I was reading today. There was an interesting article today, or not an article. I'm trying to remember if this was I get a newsletter from I think it was the newsletter from Gabrielis Landsbergis, who's the former foreign minister of Lithuania, I believe. Correct me if I'm wrong. Lithuania, I think. Help me out here, guys, but he should be. He's very good. He's got a good newsletter, Substack. And he was talking today about how he went to some meeting in Washington today that JD Vance was at, a big panel discussion, and Vance was being so nice to all the Europeans and the allies, and we need our allies. And suddenly they realized they need the allies. And he said part of the problem is the Trump administration just realized nobody wants to buy their weapons anymore. It's Australia, UK, US. Okay, going through that. I was going to say, I looked at it and I'm thinking it's making me think ANZUS, but it's not. So it's Australia, UK, US. That basically nobody wants to buy our weapons. Not nobody wants to, but there's real concern about buying American weapons now, because if you can't count on Canada, if the US is going to invade, do you really want to be using American weapons when Americans are the people who are providing the parts for you to fix your weapons, right? I mean, it's a problem. So all of a sudden the Trump people figured out that they've just sort of screwed the American defense industry as well, because yes, you might want American weapons, but can you trust us? No. Would we cut you off even if you bought our weapons? Yes. Now they would. The Trump people would. Romania is kind of a mess, George. Scary stuff. We talked about it the other day. At least in the first, there's two elections. In the first election, the far right party, very pro-Russian, anti-Europe, anti-American party, did very well, which is very scary. Kind of I'm sorry, but they're fascists. They are fascists. And when I say fascist, but I don't even know if that's what it is in Eastern Europe. I'm not even sure if I'd call it a fascist party. When I see Hungary, Slovakia, or Romania in this case, right? I look at this and I see the Soviet Union, right? I see Viktor Orban is a Soviet dictator. I mean, he's absolutely positively a Soviet era dictator. Look at the man. He looks like one of the fat old dictators of Eastern Europe, the communist dictators. Absolutely positively looks like them, right? And that's what I see when I see these. They're not just national. I'm a nationalist. They're not just nationalists. I think they're communist dictators, really. They may not be communists, but it's the same mindset, and it's sucking up to Russia. It's all of that, Anyway. Is that true? I don't even know who he is. Tony Ortiz? Who is he? I don't even know. With Tony Ortiz, is he a House member? I don't even know who he is. Let me see here. I hear. What's up, you? What you want? I don't even know what you're whining about now. What are you whining about? Hey, stop it. My dog's whining, but she doesn't want water. I don't know what the hell she wants, because this is my life with her. Okay, I'm sorry, but I'm not sure I care. No offense, guys, but he's an Orlando, Florida commissioner. So he's on the city council in Orlando, Florida. I mean, that's nice, but okay. I mean, that's nice, but I'm not sure I care. You know what I mean? He's a city council member in Florida. What are you doing? What in God's name are you complaining about? I don't even know where she is. Oh, she's probably at the door hearing the neighbor. That's what it is. She was whining, but I was like, what are you whining like she wants something? She wants somebody in the hall. That's what she wants. So anyway, who will be the next pope? Not Donald Trump. Yeah, I have no idea. I did do an initial read of the people they were saying potentially was going to be the Pope, but who knows? Yep. UK massive trade deal with India. I did see that. That was yesterday. Hello, Mountain Man in Denver. It could be, although usually she's barking. She's barking if she actually hears the next door neighbor's dog, she'd be barking. So she's kind of, maybe, I don't know what she wants. You know, it's a little crazy. Anyway, what else, guys? What else? Do follow me. Follow me on TikTok. Follow me on YouTube. And keep the gifts coming if you would. What else? Oh, that Francis wasn't a contender in the last conclave. That's interesting. Hey, that's enough. Jeez, just whining there. I know. I think. This isn't even me. I thought this was me. This is her at the door wanting to like see somebody in the hall or whatever. I did finally put one of those screens on my door. I'm very excited. I mean, it's been years since I put one up, but one of those screens that comes, it stays up for about a year or two, but it's the magnetic screens. They are pretty nice. Damien came over. We got it up very well, so I'm very excited. So it took Sasha a couple hours. She now knows how to do it. So that's good. My dog is 15 and a half. So hanging in there, or 15, maybe 15 and a quarter, maybe hanging in there. Global entry does not necessarily help. One of the guys that was recently held up and questioned to death had global entry. So it does not necessarily. Oops, she's back to her bed. Okay, good girl. I know. I'm sorry. There you go. All right. She's back to her little bed. What, you want to go out there maybe, or what? You want me to get you more water? Because that would require me to get up. Is that what we want here? Oh, yeah. We want more water. 1 second. That's what I thought. A little more pushing daddy around. All right. Anything to make me get away from my show. All right. Jeez. Anything to make me get up. That's what we do. What else, guys? Oh, I finally haven't yawned the whole show. I'm finally yawning a little now. Sasha is the boss, yes. She is. She's a little spoiled brat, but what do you do? Can't do anything about it. Global entry. I'm getting my interview for global entry tomorrow. Global entry is, we've got a program. We've got 2 programs in the US, similar. One is for domestic, one is for international. The back is much better. Thank you, Eliam. Actually, the other back thing got better too, thank God. We've got 2 programs, one for domestic, one for international, that basically you give your fingerprints, they take a picture, they do a quick background check on you, and you're kind of pre-cleared for air travel, where when you go to the airport, there's a special line and there's much fewer people in it for security. I mean, like 0 to 5 people maybe at security. You don't have to take off your shoes. You don't have to take your computer out of the bag. You don't have to take your iPad out. It just makes it easier. But the big thing is it's a much shorter line. And for international, it's really nice. It's pre-check. Global entry is the international version of pre-check. TSA pre-check is the domestic one. Global entry is international and domestic. So it includes pre-check, global entry. But I've been doing pre-check forever. And I finally was like, you know what? I haven't traveled in a while. I want to travel again. So interestingly enough, I signed up on Saturday for global entry thinking it was going to take 6 months to a year. Sunday night, I got the preliminary approval and I went, that was weird. I applied Saturday. Sunday night, I got the preliminary approval and it said, book your interview. And I'm thinking, the interviews are going to be 6 months from now. The first interview they had was the next day, Monday. I was busy with Callum's wedding. So my interview's tomorrow. And I was like, Jesus Christ. So that was kind of wild. So my interview's tomorrow at the Ronald Reagan building. And there you have it. Just leave the door open for the dog. So pretty quickly. Who knows? It was pretty damn quick though. I thought it was going to be 6 months to a year. So, but yeah, it's $120 for 5 years, which isn't bad because you skirt the line. It's what, $25 a year, more, a little $24 a year. It's pretty good. All out war with who, Anna Marie says, how close are we to all out war? With who? We're not close to all out war with anybody right now. We're not. I mean, the Indians and the Pakistanis are close to war, but not us. A good question, Dawn. Do you have to I don't know, you don't, because I renewed my pre-check. I got my first pre-check in 2015. So or 2016. So no, I'm pretty sure you do not have to be interviewed again. You just renew it. No updates on the India-Pakistan thing. As you know, India attacked Pakistan yesterday in retaliation for a terrorist attack that killed 26 tourists or so, and they blamed the Pakistanis. The Indians bombed a number of areas in Pakistan they say were related to the terrorist or group or whatever. They didn't actually attack. Supposedly, they didn't attack Pakistani military. The Pakistanis say that they're going to retaliate at a time of their choosing. So Pakistan has not retaliated yet. We're kind of waiting to see what Pakistan does and whether Pakistan goes over the top. Like, for example, does Pakistan attack Indian military? If they do, then India may respond again. If they attack some other things in India, maybe they won't. So we're kind of waiting to see what happens with that. A little scary, but that's the only war right now that I'm worried about, really, at the moment. I mean, so, I mean, we're not sending more. Cliff is asking more F-16s or Abrams or HIMARS to Ukraine. No. I mean, why would you even ask that? Why, you know that Trump isn't sending any of that. There's some kind of a 50 million. Come on. You know how to do it. Come on. You know how to do it. She's giving me the look now. I told you I've got the screen door out there. There you go. Good job. All right. At first, she couldn't figure out the magnetic screen door. And I was like, I tried showing her with a treat. She couldn't figure it out. 2 hours later, I look and she walks right through it. I was like, okay, that was good. So my smart little dog figured it out on her own, which I was very impressed. Yeah, I'm not sure what a proportionate response would be for Pakistan going after India. I did see Preston Stewart, I think, was the one saying that part of the concern was whether Pakistan, if Pakistan were to hit a military target in India, then the Indians would probably hit back. But I'm not sure what a non-military target would be in India that Pakistan would hit. Now, maybe it means radar or something instead of hitting planes. I don't know. I'm not sure. I'm sort of curious what that would be. Thank you, Oscar and Taylor, for the gifts, and Chili. Preston's great. Yeah, he's amazing. Always enjoy his stuff. Anything else, guys? Otherwise, we'll wrap up soon. I like this shirt. I got this shirt last year. I haven't worn it because it's a little tight. It's a little tight, but I was like, I wanted to wear red today. So, and I'm liking the red on camera. Red looks good on me anyway, but it's like a nice, although with my hair going gray, I don't know if red looks good anymore. My color may be changing. I don't know. Except I don't really like muscle shirts. That's the thing. I think I look at this as being more of a fitted shirt. You know what I mean? Muscle shirts, I think, are I don't like muscle shirts. I find them goofy, Red always did look good on me, but I worried once my hair got lighter that maybe it didn't look good anymore. Anyway, the next play date. We did play with Brutus briefly in the hall today. Hello. She's on the ottoman now. All right. I'll show you guys. She's over on the ottoman. She just jumped up. Actually, you guys can see too. There you go. She's on the little for YouTube and Discord. Well, she was looking. That's like her little side of her head now. Anyway, global entry only gets you to the baggage claim before everyone else to wait for your bags. Yeah, but you could skip a line of 50 people. Are you kidding? Every time I come in international at Dulles, I'm like in line with 50 to 100 people. It lets you skip the line. That's fabulous. You kidding? That's not an only. That's fabulous as far as I'm concerned. And you do get to not take out your computer and all that kind of stuff, which is good too. Thank you, CC, for the gift. Yeah, she's laying down now. Okay, she's down. Anyway. Will Europe help more if Trump stops all support? If you mean for Ukraine, the problem is it's not clear what more Europe can do. Europe is, even the U.S. though, we've given Ukraine a lot of the weapons we've got. It's not clear that we've got a lot more weapons. I mean, that's sort of the problem. So I don't know. Well, we don't know. Gomez is asking if Pakistan shot down a French fighter jet, or I'm assuming you mean an Indian fighter jet made in France. The Pakistanis claim they shot down 2 or 3. As of yesterday, I was quoting the defense editor of The Economist magazine, thought it was bullshit. I thought the Pakistanis were lying. So, you know. Oh, I see what Jim is saying. I see, Jim. I see what you're saying. Jim is saying you still got to wait for your luggage, so you might not get out any quicker. Yeah, potentially, but it depends how long that line. That's a fair point. You have to wait for your luggage, but it also depends how long that line is. You still could be. I mean, with 100 people in front of you, it could be a while. And it's also, at least in the U.S. I see what you mean. For domestic flights in the U.S., it's nice though. I mean, pre-check is certainly. I love pre-check for domestic because you skirt the line basically at all the security stuff. But that's a fair point. Yeah. Although I'd still rather cut through and wait for my luggage than stand in line with 100 people. But I know what you mean. Well, yeah, but you don't check a bag internationally, and they're probably going to haul you aside. You're going to Europe and you don't have any luggage? Yes, sir. I wanted to skirt the line. Yeah, sure you did. Maybe, but yeah. Yeah, not taking out your computer has been very nice. iPads too, they make you take out, so that was very nice. Anyway, I was like, you know what? I like pre-check. It's probably $40 more, which is not cheap. But for 5 years, I was like, that's $5 a year. Well, no, yeah, $8 a year. $8 a year. I was like, okay, I'll do it. Anyway, people do it. I don't know how people do. Gunther saying he took a rolling carry-on and a backpack for 9 days in Europe. I don't know how people do it. I have no plans to go anywhere soon. No, not internationally. But I've never been able to travel with a small suitcase. I had friends who did. More power to you if you can. I have a hard time figuring that one out. So anyway, all right, guys. 30 days in Australia was just a carry-on? Man. Yeah. Did you wash your own clothes or what? I don't even know how I would do that. Well, I mean, maybe if the weather's like shorts, I'd have like 2 or 3 pairs of shorts. I'd bring a lot of t-shirts and underwear because then I can just wash them. Yeah. Do a lot of laundry. Yeah. That's true. If you do a lot of laundry, you could. That's true. Yeah. No, you could. If you're not bringing a lot of tech and stuff, it makes it easier. So Jim, I wasn't sure what the rule was now, Bryce. Bryce is talking about Real ID. Maybe we'll go after this, but they're instituting sort of a new, I don't even know what Real ID has, whether it's got a chip embedded or what it is, but they're instituting finally this new, computerized ID that they're requiring. It kicked in yesterday or the day before. A lot of Americans they've been doing this for 20 years. They've been announcing it. A lot of Americans weren't ready for it. Supposedly you can still travel. Somebody was just saying, or Bryce was saying that maybe there's extra screenings. I did not see what the actual rule was. It's a star, except we don't have it in DC. We don't have the star at the top of our license. So it's not that. The star at the top of your license shows that you're an American. Well, I shouldn't say that. We do have a star. You're right. There is a star at the top of the license, but it's not a star that indicates citizenship in DC. So the star simply means Real ID. There is a star, though. You're right. I didn't realize that on my DC license. That's Real ID. Okay. But is it that it's got a chip inside? I don't quite understand what it has. You know what I mean? Like okay. Yeah, I don't get it, but it does something. No chip. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, they did. I will say, like at the security at the airport, depending on the security, you now can use your ID, which is kind of nice. You just kind of put your ID in and, it's gone. Callum is messaging me on Snapchat. Stop it. I'm not looking at Snapchat. So hold on. Was he? Oh no, he wasn't here. Okay. Snapchat. So I have Snapchat, but I don't really love it. You did the extra paperwork. Yeah, I'll have to Google and see what is the deal with it. A virtual ID. That's interesting. Star means your gold star. Except mine's mine's a black star. I do not have a gold star. So alas. All right, guys. I think we're going to go. Actually, we're at the hour and a half mark anyway. So this is the point of the show. We usually say goodbye anyway. So thanks for joining us, guys. I'll be back tomorrow as always. What is it? Tomorrow's Thursday. So back Thursday, 6:00 Eastern time, US, our usual time. I got nothing else to tell you. Thanks for coming. Thanks for being sane. We didn't have too many crazies today. Thanks, mods, as well. Thanks for the gifts. No gold for John? What do you mean, gold? Am I getting gold? I'll take gold. Anyway, all right, guys. I will see you guys tomorrow. All right. I'll do my usual here. We'll start with Discord and get you guys first. 1 second. All right. Bye, Street Rat, Jeff, Tablet, Manda, Madonna. All right. See you guys. All right. That's done. All right. YouTube, you're next. Bye-bye. And TikTok, you are next.